Okay, so we're gonna do the Sea Devils this time for Doctor Who Week. My first John Pertwee story, and why I'm going to do this review before a Patrick Troughton story is because, well, I just got done watching the Sea Devils, so I could do that first. Now, the Sea Devils, I kind of went into because I've now seen it twice. When I originally got it, I watched it, and I was actually going to do it last week, the last Doctor Who week, but time I felt short on time, and I just said save it for next time. When I first got it, I had no hype around it. The only stories I have unfortunately seen the Sea Devils before in Warriors of the Deep, which I have not seen in a long time, and I'm not planning on seeing it this week, so no, I'm not reviewing it. And the only other Silurian related thing I saw was, well, the two-parter from Series 5 recently, in 010. So, I knew nothing about this. I only had seen one other Pertwee story. I'd seen no stories featuring Roger Delgado as the Master, and I was just really unfamiliar with just some of the stuff that seems relevant to the era at the time. And to be fair, they don't do too much. Now, here's the thing about this story I want to point out up front. It's a six-parter. I personally think it didn't need to be a six-parter. Only because, and that's a complaint I've been bringing up a couple times when I bring up classic series, is sometimes some stories could have been easier if they were done shorter and shorter formats. Six-part stories, I've only seen this in Talons. I have not seen any other six-parters yet. But my general opinion on them really is, I don't know, they need to be good. I think Talons of Weng-Chiang has enough to justify it being six parts. This doesn't, and here's mainly why. I bring up Roger Delgado's Master, who I will admit is pretty suave, putting up a nice performance. Here's the thing. He didn't really need to be here all that much. He does serve a purpose, being the thing that brings up the Sea Devils onto the base, but the thing is, it was established that they were awakened from stuff happening at the fort, so it seems like it was bound to happen sooner or later anyway. They just needed an excuse to have the Master in here, I guess. And that's not a bad idea in principle, but the thing is, it seems like they could have had anyone. They could have had some weird scientist do it. They easily could have been replaced. That's my issue. And not to mention, it just kind of leads into some somewhat pointless runabout around the whole naval base with him and the Doctor. Sure, there's some decent moments involved. Him sword fighting with him, the Doctor. I mean, the funny joke about how he thinks the puppets from a kid show are actual aliens, which they eventually bring up in Series 3 of the modern series, and to be fair, it's hilarious. There's some fun bits here, which, makes you like the characters. It's good to see Jo and the Doctor having this casual conversation before the story starts. And that's good. I think that's something you should try and have once in a while. Get a general feeling that the characters like each other, what the relationship is. Just kind of get a nice sense of it. Now, the story itself altogether. Aside from the Master's involvement in the somewhat tedious runabout stuff on the base, it's again just too long, but still when it gets going and when it starts, it's really good. I will say this. It's a well thought out story, somewhat well written story, can't talk. But above all else, that's just the thing. It just has a couple flaws in it that could have been changed. or just weren't needed. Just over length and the Master being there. The Sea Devil itself, I think, could have just supported the bad guy feeling on its own. Because, harping back on the Master, all he does is bring him here, which again, anyone could have done, and then he basically tries to take down any of the peace talks the Doctor wants to start with him. They carry this. The Master doesn't. That's my thing. They should just... They are obviously carrying the story, and the Master wasn't needed. And they give them their fair share of screen time, but the thing is they have to keep running back to him. That's my problem. They're not focusing on the monster. They're focusing on... They're putting some of the focus on a completely different villain, and I think they should have been the forefront here. They should be the threat. Having the Master just come in and try and interrupt it seems unnecessary, and again, more padding. What else worked? The action scenes were actually pretty well done. Not to mention the fact that they didn't rely too much on special effects too much. There's a CSO, a green screen effect, and pretty much after that a bunch of small explosions right here and there, and I think they're nicely done, especially for the time. It also helps that they actually had the British Navy help with all this, so it kind of seems more legitimate, and they'd obviously have some say in how the Navy would operate in a situation, if any. To be fair, I don't know if they ever covered a strange turtle creature in a fishnet dress, but I don't know. You again suspend a little disbelief. And since I brought it up, let's talk about their design. I think their mask looks amazing even today. The neck part looks a little goofy. The goofier part is the net dress thing. Apparently that was a late addition only because they thought the design looked a little too frightening for children. So they need to do this to make him seem a little less threatening. It works with the whole, he's obviously from the sea aesthetic. But again, it just kind of deflates any real threat he had. Now, performances. Pertwee's belting in a good performance here. He's playing the Doctor as he usually plays him. Suave, but trying to stay in control. And above all else, trying to make peace with the Sea Devils, with the population of Earth. Which isn't a bad thing, and is something the Doctor should do no matter what incarnation. The Joe Grant, the companion, and the Master are giving their usual, are again the same. I just don't know. I don't know if Joe did much aside from pointing out that the Master's free. She mostly just worked off the Doctor a lot and did the standard job the companion of that time would do. Scream, run away, and once in a while talk to the Doctor and maybe help out and solve a problem. And that's not bad. Delgado manages to be amusing, even though I do think he shouldn't really be here. He at least makes it tolerable and doesn't fully make you say, "Oh, God, I'd wish you leave." It's just that you're not invited to this party, but you're cool enough to stay. Other performances, the warden who controls the prison, because that's one thing I need to make a deal about that I thought would be a bigger point, was the fact that the Master actually manages to hypnotize a lot of people who work in this prison. You think that'd be a cool plot point, but I didn't see it go anywhere, personally. Maybe I missed something. Again, that could happen, and if anyone's listening to this and has noticed, please correct me. But I don't think it went anywhere different, and it's just that the mind control people are just playing the idea of, "Yes, Master, we obey, Master. You're the Master. Did we forget to mention you're the Master?" Again, it's kind of the standard. I'm not angry, but I'm not gonna get all happy about it either. Again, I want to say this. I think this is a very watchable story. But I just think it's just too long to say I highly recommend it. There's a good story here and there. The pacing's fairly good. Episode 1 moves a little faster than I think's necessary. But all in all, definitely a very watchable story.